away we go. Stream number 3, and there will be an episode of The Collective tonight. Everybody eats, and welcome to the 2026 new league year across the National Football League. It is 4:11 Eastern Standard Time in the late afternoon hours on Wednesday, March 11th of 2026. I am bobtrosset. Thanks to my sponsors, Preston Automotive Group and FanDuel, for continuing to power this program. And we have been powering through a ridiculous 24 hours, which really began last night with Max Crosby and the trade that was in the works being called off by the Ravens organization after his failed physical. And what's happened since has taken the NFL world by storm. Everybody's been captivated. Everybody's been locked in. And it will be that kind of episode leading up until 5 o'clock. When Eric DeCosta is set to address reporters at One Winning Drive in Owings Mills, Maryland. It will be a keep your head on a swivel kind of afternoon, because since Sarah and I wrapped up about 2 hours ago or so, there have been a flurry of new Ravens signings that have come down, and I'm going to take you through every single one, get you fully caught up to speed, and right up until 5 o'clock when Eric DeCosta is set to meet with reporters to essentially offer an update as to where things stand 48 hours into what we now know is the new league year, but that legal tampering window the last couple of days, which feels like a couple of weeks based on the vicious nature of this week's news cycle. Well, here it is at a glance, and Sarah put it all together. It's been a busy day for the Ravens with several key replacements for who they've lost in free agency over the last couple of days. Of course, most notably, Max Crosby was never actually technically, officially a Raven. But he did make it to the building, and he did not make it through their testing, their physical, and everything that was required to go pen to paper. And so as a result, the Ravens pivoted quickly to Trey Hendrickson, pending a physical. He will become a Baltimore Raven, and they signed him to a nice, lucrative 4-year deal for him, which is 28 average annual value in millions. 28 million. His market was believed to be in that 25 to 27 million range. The Ravens came in and swooped in, perhaps in desperate fashion, having to get something done, knowing that Crosby was not something that they were comfortable with and moving forward with. And so instead, they go with 31-year-old Trey Hendrickson, who's just a year removed from a 17.5 sack campaign. He did that both in 23 and 24 with the Bengals. Charlie Kolar left in free agency to join the Chargers on a nice deal that makes him the highest paid blocking tight end. And they replaced him, at least on paper, with Durham Smythe. We'll talk about him in just a bit. There is some familiarity between Durham and Declan. Declan Doyle, of course, is getting ready for year one as the next offensive coordinator for the Ravens. There's some Chicago familiarity there. He is, on paper, your next blocking tight end. We'll get into each one of these players specifically. Alohi Gilman and Ardarius Washington both left in free agency. Alohi got a nice deal. Ardarius, of course, is one of the 4 former Ravens to have joined John Harbaugh in New York as members of the Giants. And their replacement, in part, safety number 3, Jalen Hawkins from the Patriots. We'll get into him coming up in the moments ahead. And Cheeto Awuzie, as I'm sure a lot of you were pleased to see. Let me make sure that I'm not missing anything up front. I am not. A lot of these deals, being that they are now official, being that it's the new league year, are being posted as such, official transactions by teams around the league. So you just got to kind of keep your head on a swivel and go back and forth, and you'll continue to see me do that as I multitask with you. Quickly approaching 800 concurrents early on within the first 5 minutes of today. If you could like the video on your way in, I'd appreciate it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. Cheeto Awuzie was a great re-signing, and he's someone that was their best press corner, arguably, a year ago. He's reliable. He's durable. He understands the AFC North. and he's back on what you will see in a couple slides ahead on a very, very reasonable deal. Christian gets us started with these super chats today, and he writes, okay, hearing about the cartilage issue in Max's knee makes me feel a little bit better. That was not disclosed, reported by Schefter. I do have some reporting from Adam Schefter, and I plan to get to it in just a bit when we revisit some of this Crosby / Hendrickson dialogue, and that'll be coming up in just a bit. Christian, I appreciate you for being here. And the more I process this, the more that I look into this, the more that I ask around, I think the Ravens 24 hours ago were in a much worse situation long-term wise when you look at it from 1,000 feet above than they find themselves in right now. Is Trey Hendrickson a better player than Max? No, he is not. Is he younger than Max? No, he is not. Is he still expensive? Not as expensive as Max is. But it doesn't mean he can't be productive in his own way, knowing what the Ravens already have in-house to stop the run. And that has been one of Trey Hendrickson's limitations over the years. As Kelsey Conway told us on the vault earlier today, who's a beat reporter, this is where the English is going to start to go because food hasn't been a thing, sleep hasn't been a thing. Dre Dog, you're just going to want to plug your ears. Kelsey's point was, hey, they haven't had the interior run defense in Cincinnati over Trey Hendrickson, at least consistently speaking, over Trey's time with the Bengals like the Ravens have. And perhaps you'll see a player who, because of what's around him, will be more fundamentally sound, more consistent, more versatile, and most importantly, outside of his power rush abilities, which is his calling card, somebody that can impact the run game like I'm sure the Ravens would take to the bank. The Eagles continue to inquire about the Vikings' Jonathan Grenard and remain in contact with his agent about a potential extension if a deal were to be struck. Philadelphia is also keeping tabs on the free agent pass rush market after missing out on Trey Hendrickson, who, of course, is now a Baltimore Raven. Still waiting official announcement from that as far as the Ravens are concerned. And remember, we are 42 minutes out from Eric DeCosta meeting with reporters for an update to check in on where they're at in free agency. I wonder what will be discussed. That will be a fascinating press conference, to say the very least. And I'll get to the Minnesota side of things in just a bit because Javon Hargrave has just become available. Jonathan Grenard believed to be available as a potential trade candidate. Jonathan Allen was just recently released as well, I saw moments ago, now that the new league year has come and went. And we are officially in 2026 business for team building, free agency, and all these transactions that you've heard about over the last 48 hours now becoming official in this 4 o'clock hour on the East Coast. Cheeto Awuzie is coming back to Baltimore, and according to my pal, Jeff Zaribek, it's a 1-year, $5 million deal for the veteran. They have their veteran corner. He played very well for the Ravens last year. Someone that is reliable, someone that is still playing at a high level. Tennessee paid him $7.5 million in 2025 to suit up for another team in the same conference. And when I checked in with some Titans sources about why that was the case, they wanted to get younger and healthier. Well, Cheeto was that. He played young and he was healthy for the Ravens last season. And they award him with, it's funny to say award because it's not that rich of a deal. It's a bargain, if you will, for a player that can absolutely help them out in 2025 and bring that depth to a room that desperately needed a veteran cornerback added to it, and that is Cheeto Awuzie. Had 5 starts and 14 games played for the Ravens a year ago and was brought in after the Titans, again, parted ways with him. He is a former Cincinnati Bengal, has a familiarity with the AFC North, and this is a nice value add for the Ravens. Had some good tape on film. I think his savvy, experience, and ability to not only use his spatial awareness skills, but also his knack for the football makes him a tough assignment. A good, solid, sturdy assignment that's going to come in, compete, bring that level of experience to a locker room, and give you some stability. It's a smart, wise play by the Ravens organization here. And now let's talk about safety number 3. Alohi Gilman and both Ardarius Washington left in free agency. Alohi, of course, goes to Kansas City on a nice deal, a veteran deal, and Ardarius goes to New York on a 1-year deal with Harbaugh. And in comes Jalen Hawkins. According to Jeremy Fowler, Jeff was on this as well. He plans to sign with the Ravens for 2 years and $10 million. Kevin Byard goes to New England. Hawkins leaves. He joins the Ravens. 2 years, $10 million. They got their number 3 safety, which is an important role for the way that they want to use Kyle Hamilton, much like Jesse Minter used Derwin James for his 2 years as the defensive coordinator in Los Angeles for the Chargers, which was one of the main reasons as to why he landed the head coaching job in Baltimore to begin with. As for Jalen and who he is, if you want to familiarize yourself with him, he played in the Super Bowl this past season, spent the last 2 years with the New England Patriots. He is 6'1", 208 from Buena Park, California. That's where he played his college ball at Cal from 15 to 19. He was a 4th-round pick back in 2020 by the Falcons, where he spent his first 4 seasons. He was in LA with the Chargers in 23. And he just spent his last couple of years with the New England Patriots. As for last year's rankings, PFF had him at a coverage grade of 74.7. That ranked 12th. And his run defense grade ranked 15th at 79.7. Again, safety number 3 is very important when it comes to the Ravens defense and the way that they are constructed and the way that they want to play. You know that Kyle Hamilton is going to be roaming and used as that chess piece, affecting things up at the line of scrimmage, tackling in space, covering if he has to, rushing the quarterback, you name it. Alignment does not matter. He'll do it all. And knowing that Malachi Starks is coming off a rookie year where he certainly showed some flashes, you bring in a veteran like Jalen Hawkins, who's going to be a good presence for Malachi. And it'll be curious to see how they handle playing time, how they handle snap count, and most importantly, how Jesse Minter chooses to handle one of the game's ultimate unicorns at the safety position in Kyle Hamilton. As for the Charlie Kolar replacement, this appears to be the Chicago pipeline here. Jeff noting that the Ravens agreed to terms with Durham Smythe. He refers to him as the likely Charlie Kolar replacement and will fill the blocking tight end role in Baltimore. He's got 136 career catches. And again, he was in Chicago this past season. He will turn 31 in August from Havertown, Pennsylvania. He's 6'5", 248, played his college ball at Notre Dame, and he was a 4th-round pick by the Miami Dolphins in 2018, and he was there through 2024. And again, just spent this past season, his lone season, with the Chicago Bears. We know that was Declan Doyle's lone season as Ben Johnson's right-hand man. So perhaps a little bit of Declan Doyle influence, if you will. And one of the players that I have in, as we go into breaking news mode, off we go. It's not Ravens related, but this player is in my poll. I asked you guys earlier, who should the Ravens target next? Jonathan Grenard, Javon Hargrave, Bradley Chubb, or Jonathan Allen? And one of those players is off the board. Bradley Chubb, as of moments ago, is signing with the Buffalo Bills, and that is courtesy of Diana Rossini. Let's go ahead and throw this up right now. Bradley, of course, was someone that was talked about a lot around the deadline this past season and in past seasons as well for the Miami Dolphins. Bradley is 29 years old. He'll turn 30 this summer. He spent the last 4 seasons with Miami. And prior to that, of course, he was a first-round pick all the way back in 2018, Lamar's draft class by Denver. Played his college ball at NC State. Still got a lot to give. And I would imagine the Bills would have been interested in Trey Hendrickson. They settle on Bradley Chubb, giving him a 3-year, $43.5 million deal worth up to $52.5 million, and that includes $29 million guaranteed with the Buffalo Bills. Three years, $43.5 million. Bradley Chubb. Take him off that poll. But what was the update on that anyway as we approach 400 votes? Ironically, he was the lead vote getter. Can I adjust this poll? Can I edit this poll? No, I have to end it. All right, well, choose wisely when you put your vote in. Former Jets wide receiver John Mechie is signing a 1-year deal with the Carolina Panthers. Kenny Pickett will back up Bryce Young in Carolina. These are all just random deals that are coming down as we speak right now. Reek Woolen made it official on a 1-year deal with the Philadelphia Eagles as a veteran corner for them. And Minnesota, according to Schefter, is the, quote, overwhelming favorite to sign Kyler Murray, whose time in Arizona has come to an end. The Browns just announced a bunch of signings, agreeing to terms with a bunch of offensive linemen. And again, the last 2 healthy seasons for Bradley Chubb, that's the operative word, health. What will Buffalo be getting? That remains to be seen. But almost 20 sacks his last 2 healthy seasons. When he is healthy, obviously, he has been a very impactful player. Ravens Flock says, how likely do you think it is to get Bradley Chubb? This came in 8 minutes ago. He's off the market. And he is going to the Buffalo Bills. He's 2 years younger than Trey Hendrickson. Missed all of 2024 due to injury. Spent 2022 in Denver and then Miami via trade. But in 23, fully healthy, 11 sacks. 25, fully healthy for the most part, 8.5 sacks. He's a good player. The Bills are getting him cheaper with maybe less upside than the Ravens went and got Trey Hendrickson. So there's other players in the live poll that I have for you that are still available, and we're getting to them in just a bit. But just to pivot off of that breaking news with Bradley Chubb, this is your Charlie Kolar replacement here in Durham Smythe. Is he a household name? No. Is Jalen Hawkins a household name? No. Was Ardarius Washington, Alohi Gilman, or Charlie Kolar household names? Far from it, but they were impactful players in their own right, and they're heading elsewhere, including these 4 all to New York. Pat Ricard becoming the latest last night to follow his former head coach. Jordan Stout, of course, as a punter and placeholder. Isaiah Likely as the encouraging tight end. Everybody seems to be outside of Baltimore. I know there's an affinity for him in Baltimore, no question. But I think around the league, people view like he's a sleeping giant in terms of potential. We'll see if he realizes that potential following Harbaugh and joining the Giants. And, of course, like I mentioned, Ardarius Washington, one of the 2 safeties, leaving the Ravens in free agency as a former undrafted rookie. He gets to continue his career on a 1-year deal up in East Rutherford. As for Trey Hendrickson, he's signing with Baltimore. This was the pivot off of Max Crosby. There were several teams in on wanting to acquire Trey, and it came down to the wire. Ultimately, the Ravens get it done, and they made sure to get it done based on these terms right here. 4 years, $120 million, includes $60 million fully guaranteed and a $20 million signing bonus. For 8, 10, 12, and 14 sacks per season, he'll also get an additional $500,000 for each threshold he meets. He had that core issue that shut his season down back in October, but he's well out in front of that rehab, unlike Max, unfortunately for him, who just underwent that meniscus repair January 7th, ultimately failing his physical yesterday in Baltimore, and the Ravens pulling the plug, as they had a right to do, on what would have been a blockbuster deal, sending 2 first-round picks to the Las Vegas Raiders. There was chatter about both players coming to Baltimore, and that's something that Adam Schefter spoke about earlier today on the McAfee Show on ESPN.
Signing, congratulations, by the way. I know you're on that for the entirety for $112 million. Our source says are telling us that Trey Hendrickson was basically thinking about playing alongside Max, right?
Right.
But the decision to go with Trey and keep both first-round picks is certainly what the public narrative is. So I think it's a fascinating little situation where it felt like the Ravens were definitely talking about having Max and Trey, but then they pull out of the Max deal and get Trey, and everybody's like, oh, they fucked Max for Trey. How should we kind of read this, you think, Schefty?
Well, I think that's exactly it. Trey said that his understanding was when he was thinking of going to Baltimore, the idea was to team up with Max Crosby, and I don't think he was particularly thrilled that the Max Crosby trade fell through. He was looking forward, if he opted for the Baltimore offer in the midst of his discussions with multiple teams, to playing with Max Crosby. That was his initial impression. So, again, I think he's happy to get his business taken care of first and foremost, but I think it started out when the conversation first started, he thought that there was the real possibility he was going to be playing with Max Crosby if that was the route he went. Obviously, he was talking to a number of teams. The Baltimore offer was the one he took. Obviously, Baltimore stepped up after the Max Crosby situation, and here we are.
Yeah, it's fascinating. All of it's interesting, and we'll never really get the truth from behind closed doors on why happened what, because different doctors can judge and deem different doctor things. But all we know, Max Crosby, first person in building for the Raiders this morning to continue rehab.
Wow. Well, you heard it there from Schefter, that DeCosta wanted to take even a bigger swing, perhaps, than what we initially thought. And he was interested in bringing both Hendrickson and Crosby to the Ravens. Talk about a swing. But instead, as Pat just mentioned there, Crosby reported to the Raiders facility this morning at 6 a.m. to continue his rehab. Hendrickson, after being chased down by several teams into the 11th hour, lands in Baltimore. DeCosta is about to meet with reporters in 25 minutes from right now and try to answer for all of this. And most importantly, the Ravens move forward with a boatload of cap space now that they've restructured Lamar Jackson's contract. And this is in the midst of losing double-digit players in free agency. This is in the midst of the entire league speaking of them and speaking on them, most of which has been critical. And DeCosta's like, I don't give a fuck. That's kind of like what it feels like. I'll be very curious to see how he handles this press conference coming up in just a bit. As for the pursuit, Jeremy Fowler had some nuggets on this, friend of the program. He wrote that the Colts, Bills, Bucks, Commanders, and Eagles all were involved in Trey Hendrickson's free agency before he agreed to terms with the Ravens. And this makes sense because a lot of these teams have pivoted, right? Bradley Chubb goes to Buffalo. The Commanders got Oweh and Chase on. What did Philadelphia do? I don't have everything in front of me, but those are the ones that stick out to me. What has Indianapolis and Philadelphia done, and Tampa Bay? Have they been in this market at all? Is Epeneza's still out there, right? AJ Epineza? I think he's available. One of these teams may end up with either or Javon Hargrave, Jonathan Grenard. Jonathan Allen was released. It'd have to be via trade for Grenard. But Allen and Hargrave have been released, so they're available. Hargrave seems to have Ravens written all over him. I know Jeff just tweeted about that a short while ago. But am I missing anything specifically with what Philadelphia has done? And I know Philadelphia has Jalen Carter. I get that. But with some of these free agents, former Cleveland Browns first-round pick Jedrick Wills Jr. is signing a one-year deal with the Chicago Bears. He is no longer in the AFC North, as news just flies in from every which direction. Trey Hendrickson's impact, say no more. The last 3 years with him off the field in Cincinnati, their pass defense was woeful. We've had a chance to watch that twice a year, whether you're a fan or you cover the team. DJ Moore's just officially been announced as the next Buffalo Bills wide receiver. That trade went down last week. 32 in EPA per attempt, 32 in yards per attempt, 32 in passer rating, 31 in success rate, 30 in pressure percentage. Bengals pass defense was a joke when Trey was off the field. When he was on the field, this is individual impact at its best. In those categories, at or above NFL average or better in every single one of those metrics. If that's an indication of what's coming to Baltimore, and they get to keep their two first-round picks in 26 and 27, which is the case, and they're back in play for 14 overall, which means we're doing marathon draft coverage. You better believe that shit. You already know. I thought I was getting off this year. That ain't happening. Better have my wedding stuff packed the night before. I leave for Baltimore on day 2 of the draft to go be the freaking best man at my buddy's wedding. D-Train, if you're listening right now, I sound like I'm talking in spite. That's not the case, but Nick knows I'd rather go 3 straight days, Celsius intake only, round the clock coverage, and burn it from that midnight oil, baby, because that's what we do. I got a little, what do I got here? Orange. I don't like orange. I like kiwi guava. Kiwi guava. Tim says 311 day, recommend down, do you right. Extension, stay positive, and love your life. Tim, I have to say, you started hitting me with these super chats, speaking in blurbs like this. They're very confusing to me, but I love them, and I appreciate the super chat from you. And happy 311 day to you. Love the bow tie. You're looking slick. Happy March 11th. Also, by the looks of it, are you Irish? Let me know, because if you are, it's a big freaking week for us, baby. Big week for us. Tank says, why don't we just get Max for cheaper? That ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. Unfortunately. Is this going to be a likely discussion point? Is this going to rival the likely discussion point? Again, to be clear, the Vikings have officially released Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave. Keep that in mind as we go throughout this process. We are now 20 minutes. 20 minutes. I know I don't see Brandon Ayuk tweets right now in my live chat, comments in my live chat. You guys can't be for real, can you? I know you can't be real. What's in those Celsiuses out there? Jesus. Do you remember, like a year ago, I remember seeing a legitimate news story that there was some incorrectly manufactured high noon products that hit the stores that actually, or excuse me, not high noons. Son of a frick. Anyway, whatever it was, right? And Nick, I'll get you on in a second. He's telling me he knows the story clearly, and I'll get him on, but I don't want to lose my train of thought with what I have coming up here in a second. There was something that was in stores sold as non-alcoholic that ended up becoming incorrectly produced. Imagine like going to work and whatever that drink is, You just start sipping on it, day certainly goes by a little bit quicker, I would think. I digress. 5 o'clock's right around the corner. The guest lines are open. Take a look at the highest pressure rates. Since 2021, with a minimum of 1,000 pass rushes, Trey Hendrickson ranks second in pressure rate to only Micah Parsons. 18.8%. Micah, 20.8. Will Anderson, Nick Bonito, and Myles Garrett round out this top 5 list, and that's pretty darn good company. That's who's coming to Baltimore. He will turn 32. He is 31 right now. And again, just a year removed from the leading sack getter in the entire league. And he was highly sought after. And maybe, just maybe, the Minnesota Vikings phones are highly sought after right now. Jonathan Grenard, as I've already mentioned, is a name to watch according to Fowler. This was from earlier in the week, but it still warrants repeat. Fowler's hearing that it will likely involve a day 2 pick if a trade gets done. Teams know he wants a new contract as part of the deal. He's got 2 years and $38 million left on his current deal. Your thoughts? As we approach 600 votes in today's poll question, and I asked you who the Ravens should target next. And funny enough, this just goes to show how popular Bradley Chubb was before he signed in Buffalo. He still leads at 45%, but he's gone. The next closest would be Jonathan Grenard at 29%, and again, that would have to come via trade. Also, Javon Hargrave, that would not have to come via trade. And as Jeff notes here, maybe he makes a lot of sense in Baltimore. Vikings defensive tackle, he gone. And Cheeto Awuzie has tweeted for the first time since his news hit the timeline. And he says, just enough for a hot and spicy McChicken. Cheeto, go have yourself a McChicken. They're going to need you next year. You brought that veteran presence. Well done. And congratulations on your 1-year deal for $5 million. That's what Jeff reported on earlier on. The veteran corner is back in Baltimore where he spent 2025. One of their key pieces, unsung heroes. Again, tweeting the news with a just enough for a hot and spicy McChicken. Why not? Guest lines are open. 90 seconds on the clock. Happy 2026 new league year. We have arrived. We are 43 minutes into exactly that. And the Ravens have made a flurry of moves. They have replaced Charlie Kolar with Durham Smythe, a former Miami Dolphin who spent this past season with the Chicago Bears under Declan Doyle and Ben Johnson. They've replaced Alohi Gilman and Ardarius Washington, both of whom walked in free agency, with Jalen Hawkins, who will likely be safety number 3 in Baltimore this year. He spent his last 2 years in New England, spent 23 with the Chargers, and he was a former 4th-round pick in 20 by the Atlanta Falcons. I've mentioned Cheeto Awuzie, and I've mentioned the other transactions as well. And now I am seeing why, thank you, Ravens Crazy. Now I'm seeing why Cheeto's having a good time with Jeff. Because Jeff accidentally, because he's drinking Mountain Dew and Mountain Dew only, accidentally forgot the M or the million after 5. So it's a $5 contract over that 1-year deal. So Cheeto's having a good time with Jeff. Absolutely love that, by the way. Cannot wait to rip him on the collective for that. Out of love, of course. 90 seconds on the clock. Oscar, join us, brother. The floor is yours.
What's up, Bobby?
Good to see you, man.
So, I didn't get to join last night, dead asleep, but I was absolutely livid. I was livid. I see both sides of the story now, but let me ask you this. You buy a house, right? You, to make the offer sweeter, throw in no inspection, right? You make an offer without having an inspection on it. Then after the offer gets accepted, you get the inspection, something's wrong with the house, and you back out. That's the different definition of buyer's remorse. And that is exactly, I think, what happened. So I do think that there was some buyer remorse there. I do see the sides of, okay, sorry, it's a little loud here. I do see the sides of Hendrickson, being the better choice, like financially, of course. And what happened happened. But I do think that in many ways it could absolutely impact our future trade conversations because teams are going to be scared of what's going to happen.
Dude, it already hasn't impacted them. They already did business with Hendrickson.
Well, of future teams. That's what I'm saying.
I think that's a moot point. I think that's been emotionally reported on and talked about throughout the league. I would not put much merit or credence in that if I'm you.
I hear you there, but you get my point with the buying a house and then without an expansion to make it sweeter, and then inspecting the house and seeing, oh shit, the roof's 50 years old, I need to replace it, and backing out. I think that's similar.
Enjoy your walk, man. I know it's mild up there. Enjoy it. That analogy's been used a lot. I think it's been overused. I think both teams have a right to be pissed. I don't see this affecting business moving forward. The Ravens ultimately were entitled to do what they did. It was within their right. Can it be referred to as bullshit? Sure, it already has been by an anonymous GM. And there's a lot of people pissed, certainly in Vegas. But when you got that kind of draft capital on the line that's attached to a deal that you have verbally agreed to on Friday night, and you have a player that may very well go and have an all-pro season in 25, but because of what you're seeing medically, and when I say 25, I mean 26, but what you're seeing medically by your experts in-house are suggesting that there is not a ton of confidence that you'll end up erring on the side of caution and ultimately find value in this deal over time, over multiple years, which is what Max was signing up for and what the Ravens, more importantly, were signing up for in Baltimore, then you have a right to pull the plug. That's what physicals are for. And he did not pass the Ravens physical. The Ravens reworked the contract of Lamar, according to Aditi and Schefter. Looks like this restructure creates about $40 million in salary cap space for the 26th season. Mahomes and Allen have done it for their respective organizations. And now Eric gets to dance because he's got room to work with. Who wants to, may I have this dance with EDC? In 10 minutes from now, he's set to meet with reporters. Let me know if you guys see a specific link that's been posted or whether or not that'll be an off-the-record type conversation without cameras. Is there something on YouTube? Is there something on Facebook? Let me know. But this is a big deal and doesn't necessarily prohibit the Ravens from getting something done in the form of an extension, which is the ultimate goal here with Lamar at some point in the coming weeks and months ahead of the offseason. Spot Rack gets into more here, by the way. After Aditi and Schefter's reporting, they wrote that the Ravens have processed a simple salary conversion on Lamar's deal. He's still expected to sign a contract extension in the coming weeks. By bailing on Crosby and processing a salary conversion with Lamar, the Ravens have opened up $70 million of cap space ahead of the new league year. In other words, they got wiggle room. And they can go and make a play for Javon Hargrave. They want to do business with Minnesota, make an offer for a day 2 pick or something that you feel like might be worth it in a player-for-player deal, depending on what you feel like you can give Jonathan Grenard in the form of a new contract, which is what he's looking for in Minnesota. You've addressed the veteran cornerback position. You've addressed safety number 3. You've found your Charlie Kohler replacement that has familiarity with Declan Doyle from his first year in Chicago after several in Miami. You've gotten John Simpson as a potential plug-and-play starting left guard and depth. You have your primary backup, who you have a ton of familiarity with and trust in after what he accomplished for you last year in Tyler Huntley. And, of course, you've got Trey Hendrickson, which is the big ticket item for now. He's not Max Crosby, but he is still big ticket and certainly can be more than that for the Ravens, depending on what they have in the interior part of their line. And perhaps that's Nnamdi Madubuike, Travis Jones, Aeneas Peebles, John Jenkins in a reserve-type role. What if Calais Campbell comes back and replaces what Brent Urban has done for them in recent years? The Titans are signing former Chiefs defensive end Malik Herring to a one-year deal as moves continue to flood in. 51 minutes in to the 2026 new league year. 90 seconds on the clock. I appreciate you guys for being with me. The floor is yours, Nick. Let us know what flavor you're about and what's on your mind today as we get ready for this DeCosta press conference.
Bobby, it's always the cola. I told you this. It's always the cola. Okay.
What is it again?
Cola.
Cola?
You can only get it on Amazon. You can only get it on Amazon.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay. All right.
It's the only one. I don't drink soda, but
okay.
It's the High Noon. High Noon was the one that was Celsius because I used to be a Pepsi sales rep.
Okay.
So
that's what it was.
We had to worry about that stuff. But hey, listen, Hawkins, New England Patriots. My buddy, who's a Patriots fan, told me that he's good in the passing game, but he's not good in the run support. The tight end, he's got no hands, but he can block. He's a very good blocker. That's what my Bears best friend told me. He's such a diehard Bears fan that he's got Brett Favre sucks tattooed on him. So, and
really?
then we showed Jim Rome one time. It was great. So, and hey, listen, I'm looking forward to seeing what we do. I want more offensive line help. And I was hoping maybe Njoku or somebody like that we can sign. It looks like we got a lot of cap space. I'm hoping Hargraves or Allen, maybe trade for Gennard, but it is what it is. It sucks about Crosby, and it just you can't help a knee, man.
Good seeing you, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Nick is on his way out. Judah is on his way in. 90 seconds on the clock, brother. Good to see you, dude.
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
What you got for us?
Yeah, man. Listen, I just wanted to first speak on the fact that my heart is hurting today. You know what I mean? I felt like everything was coming to an end, but when I saw all the players that we were losing, right? But I'm glad we brought back Awuzie, and I'm glad that we brought back Tyler Huntley, right? But I'm still not very confident right now. I don't know what's going on with our actual the logic and what we're doing with this team. I'm just hoping for the best. You know what I mean? We still need a linebacker because I think Teddy Buchanan will still be hurt at the beginning of the season. You know what I mean? So he won't be able to go at least for the first few weeks of the season. And Keaton Mitchell, man, they got Keaton Mitchell up for grabs, and I don't even know. I stopped watching because I don't want to. I loathe the day I found out that he actually gets signed by somebody else. They allowed him to be a free agent, which is crazy. If we lose Keaton Mitchell, and we still haven't brought in a receiver. And I got 30 seconds left, and I'm going to use all of it to just describe the fact that the worst part about what I'm seeing is that Rashad Bateman is still here. Of all the moves that have been made incorrectly, we still have Rashad Bateman. Of everybody else that was not safe, Rashad Bateman. We lose Likely, we lose Kolar, we lose Linderbaum, but Rashad Bateman is safe. I need answers, Bobby, and I feel like you're the man that can make it happen for me. I need help because right now I'm not okay mentally.
Appreciate you, Judah. Thank you. Listen, there were a lot of exits. There were a lot of departures, and I know that comes with a level of insecurity and whatnot. But at the same time, most of these are role players, aside from Linderbaum, as I said earlier on, that garnered a bunch of freak out reactions for whatever reason. And by the way, let me be clear. There is a report out there that Teddy Buchanan is actually on track to come back from that ACL tear that happened in week 15. He is on track to be ready to go by the start of training camp. Okay. So I don't think they're in need of a linebacker. At least it's not a desperate need. Will they want to draft one? Probably. Jake Hummel left in free agency to go to Houston on a 2-year deal, and he's sort of a special teams ace for them, but was also a reserve inside linebacker. As far as Bateman's concerned, yeah, there's been a lot of smoke around him in terms of some of his offseason activity and whether or not he might be an interesting trade candidate, knowing that another team might view him as untapped, right? There being some untapped potential that would fit whatever it is that they're doing, systematically on the offensive side of the ball. But it's been quiet as of late. I know that. And if he can give them, one, most importantly, a full bill of health in 26 and rival what he did in 24, that's worth keeping around. He is a very cheap option at that position, knowing that his ceiling is somewhere in that 700 to 800 receiving yard season. He put up 9 touchdowns in 24. So if he's bought in and the Ravens organization and under this new regime feels like he's bought in and are comfortable with his buy-in, then I get it. He's an emotional player. He's a polarizing player. But knowing what his ceiling is and what he's achieved as recently as 2 years ago for the price that he's on, that money's going to go out. Look, you want to extend Zay Flowers, I would think they want to extend Zay Flowers. You want to bring in a veteran wide receiver. I'm not going to say Stephon Diggs because while he brought a ton of production to New England and on the other side of 30, still playing at a high level, he's got a legal situation to figure out. I know there's allegations there, but he's gone through the court system process. He's got to figure out what the hell's going on there and how he might be disciplined, if indeed he is disciplined, based on the findings by the National Football League. And if he is, nobody's going to touch him because he might be looking at a 4 to 6. I don't know what. I won't speculate, but I'm sure it'll be something if he ends up being disciplined by the legal system. Tim says, Orlando from Cleveland, 2003, worked 5 Pro Bowls here. Waldorf Conrad, awesome memories, Irish Catholic musician, 311, a family-friendly band. That's awesome. So Tim's got some Florida connections, some Pro Bowl connections, but most importantly, some luck of the Irish in him. Best time of the year, March Madness. St. Patrick's Day pretty much starts like a week before it actually is. You've got free agency. The weather's awesome down here in St. Pete. And you got Tim dropping in super chats just cuz. Appreciate you. I have not seen anything uploaded to the Ravens YouTube channel, by the way. So this may be something that's off camera unless they've just uploaded it now, and I'm still not seeing anything. So this could very well be something that's a media type scrum that reporters can tweet out, but that will not be televised. So we'll have to see if that's the case. We're 2 minutes out from 5 o'clock when he is scheduled to speak with reporters, is Eric DeCosta, Ravens GM. Be More Mark says, the buying a house analogy with a sweetened deal without a home inspection sounds like you are about to get scammed. You always get an inspection, even on a new home. NFL Combine. Mark, what's going on, man? Thank you for the super chat. We did meet at the NFL Combine, didn't we, Mark? Appreciate that. Thank you all for being here with me today, including Mark, Florida's finest. Over 1,800 concurrents and counting on a busy, busy day. And off the table goes another player that I have in my chat. I should really take down that poll at this point because you can take Javon Hargrave off the table. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up our latest breaking news nugget here as we learn more and more about some of these players who were just released. And before other teams can snatch them, the Packers land Javon Hargrave from Minnesota to Green Bay. Former Vikings defensive tackle, 2 years, $23 million, including $13 million this year with Green Bay. And now Eric DeCosta is at the podium. And let's see if the Ravens drop something here because he is in front of a microphone. Jeff is there. Beat reporters are on the scene. Let's see if this is live right now. I'm not seeing anything. Let me know if you guys are seeing something, and I'll even pull up the Ravens app, and maybe we can all react to this accordingly right now. But Javon Hargrave and Bradley Chubb are both off the board for potential defensive help in Baltimore. I'm not seeing this live anywhere. And so we'll just wait and see. And as these tweets come in, we'll all watch it accordingly. And if you guys are seeing anything, just let me know. 90 seconds on the clock. Couple players just within the last few minutes are off the board. And as these tweets come in as it relates to Eric DeCosta, we'll continue to update from one winning drive. And we will be on the collective tonight as well. Hopefully Jeff will be able to stop by and give his perspective in terms of what he's had a front row seat to today. What's currently happening right now as we speak with Eric DeCosta behind a microphone. And apparently he is now live on NFL Network. So why don't I go ahead and try to pull up YouTube TV and see if I can pipe in some audio, if nothing else, because this is obviously something that we're going to want to hear about. Here he is.
So the first thing I would say, Jameson, is we were down in Florida last week. Had the chance to meet with Steve for about 36 hours maybe, and spent a lot of time talking about different ways to improve our team. Free agency, re-signing guys, trades, all kinds of the draft, all kinds of stuff. We were really excited about potentially adding Max to our team. I had already begun discussions with John Spytek. Those discussions continued. We were really thinking that we were getting some traction. We did. I would say as part of the normal sort of trade process, I mean, there's a lot of different parts involved with the trade process. We've done a lot of different trades. And one of the key things is to, you bring the player in and try to get as much information as you can. We did that, and we were not able to complete the process of acquiring the player based on, our assessment of the situation.
Okay, that just the first part of Eric DeCosta's comments on Max Crosby. We are going to get you the entirety of that, of his explanation of what went down there with Max. But as you can kind of see, he was talking about the origination of the idea and how they were trying to execute it. Obviously, it didn't end up happening, and Max Crosby remains a Raider. The trade is off. The first-round draft picks remain with Baltimore, who then moved on to sign Trey Hendrickson, the edge rusher, who left the Cincinnati Bengals and now is a Baltimore Ravens, so staying in the AFC North. A lot to unpack there. And again, we're going to get you back to Eric DeCosta there from Owings Mills, Maryland, the home of the Ravens, here in just a little bit. But thinking about how all of that has transpired.
Well, I don't know why they cut away from that. I don't know why they wouldn't have just let that roll, but apparently NFL Network is going in a different direction. So I'll bring back the audio if they want to cut back to it. Jeff Zaribek has given multiple updates, as all the beat reporters are right now as we speak. They, as you could hear there from one of his opening statements, they said that they were really excited about potentially adding Max, but as part of the trade process, they were not able to complete the process based on our assessment of the situation. Refers to it as a tough situation. Again, as this is happening, names like Javon Hargrave and Bradley Chubb have come off the board for potential defensive additions. DeCosta said that after bringing Crosby in, they were unable to complete the process of the trade. He did not bring up medicals specifically, just said that he's a steward of the organization as he has to act with organization's best interest in mind. He also said that there were discussions about bringing in both Max and Trey. That was a conversation after losing Tyler Linderbaum to Las Vegas. So that confirms the Adam Schefter reports and everything else that you've seen out there. I'm getting some notes that WBAL has this available, and now they're going back to it at the NFL Network.
It's going to be probably our biggest foundational acquisition this year. So I didn't really look at him as like, we'll do this because of that. It was really more, how do we get better as a football team? in terms of Trey, I think we came to a point probably after we lost Tyler, where as we're trying to find the best way for us to get better as a football team, Trey kind of made a lot of sense as a possible guy to look at. So we started some discussions with he and his agent, thinking that, potentially we'd have 2 pass rushers on the defensive line on both sides of the line. Again, I think it was disappointing, to us, and probably in a way, potentially disappointing probably to Trey as well.
Eric, you said you were interested in having 2 pass rushers on that side of the line. Are you referring to both Max and Trey Hendrickson?
Yeah, so we had started discussions with both players. We'd already agreed to potentially the trade with the Raiders, but we had, we were trying to sign Tyler. Obviously, we weren't able to get that done. Looking at the best ways for us to improve our football team, at some point we just said, you know what, this might be a guy that really fits us, and we've played against him twice a year for the last whatever many years, 4 or 5 years, and thought, hey, maybe this is a way for us to get better as a football team. So that was definitely a possibility for us. Not to say that it would have happened, but definitely something that we had contemplated and discussed with Trey.
What's that conversation like with the Raiders in the span of just over 72 hours after winning 2 first terms? Obviously, you guys never addressed that, officially, and then having a conversation with them saying that we were not going to.
So it wasn't just one conversation. It was conversations that took place probably over a full day span. I should say that I've got a lot of respect for Mark Davis, the Raiders, John Spytek. Al Davis was born in Brockton, Mass. I've always admired that. I'm from Massachusetts, right down the street. So I love the Raiders. They've been one of my favorite teams. And it's tough. It's challenging. It was devastating for me to have that conversation. I'm sure challenging for them to hear as well. It's also very, 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 very hard for the player to hear that as well. And it's probably hardest for him more than anybody else.
Say, you guys maybe got cold feet, whether it's self-improving, like medically or for whatever the reason. What do you kind of say to that speculation?
I mean, I understand it. I understand it. We live in that age of skepticism, and people question, especially people that don't really know me or know the Ravens culture and the Ravens organization. So I understand it. As I said at the beginning, we've got a responsibility. I've got a responsibility to the Ravens, to this community, to our fans, and to Steve Bisciotti to do what we think is best for the club. And that's what we always try to do. Every decision we make is based on this idea. Is this the best thing for the Ravens? Very, very challenging. Again, I understand how people might maybe from afar would feel that way, but nobody's more upset about this than me. Gutted by it, actually. And so a big regret for me. But we will move on as a football team, and I think there's many, many opportunities for us to grow as a team, to become a better team, to build a roster, and to be the team that we want to be.
Are you able to restructure Lamar's to create some cap space for this? I know you don't like to discuss the particulars, but do you feel you're closer now to an extension, or is that just, all right, we'll kick that down to the deal again later?
Yeah, so, we kind of ran out of time, and we're able to free up, I think, just under $40 million this year. Added a void year to 2030, I believe. Certainly hopeful that we'll get an extension done. I think it's important to both parties, but we remain to see what's going to take place in the future.
Is that overstructure? No, it doesn't really change the dynamic.
I don't think it really changes the dynamic very much.
Eric, working out. Just curious, one, I know it's hard about that, but any update there? How much does that play into the calculus of the maps and stuff?
Yeah, I saw the video. It was cool to see. Didn't really play into the calculus at all. I think that's a book that hasn't been written yet, so we'll see what happens with that.
Okay, that's Ravens GM Eric DeCosta talking about the Max Crosby trade that fell through, and you're probably wondering why we started with a piece of that conversation, piece of that statement, opening statement from Eric DeCosta, and then picked up a little while later. There were some issues with the feed coming in here to our NFL Network studios, so there was going to be about a 2-minute portion where Eric DeCosta's face was going to be frozen on screen. We actually didn't want that to happen, so we cut out, brought you back in studio, and then picked it back.
All right, so why don't we do this? Why don't we instantly react to what we just heard there? Again, that was an NFL Network press conference cut-in that I wanted to grab the audio of. For whatever reason, the Ravens did not put up the video version of it. Maybe that'll come later on. But as you just heard there towards the end, he said they ran out of time with Lamar Jackson to get an extension done prior to the new league year. He's still hopeful to reach an agreement. He's still hopeful to reach an agreement. They freed up nearly $40 million in cap space and added that void year to 2030, is what he said specifically. There was also a lot of Max Crosby nuggets there as well. He used the term gutted and regret. Would not give a Nnamdi Madubuike update, but was encouraged by what he saw and the video of him working out with that medicine ball above his head and neck. He said, quote, "It's a story that hasn't been written yet, so we'll see what happens." You know, another interesting part of that as well is from the Raiders' perspective, he made sure to mention owner Mark Davis and GM John Spytek, saying that he has a lot of respect for the organization. Went on to say that nobody is more upset by this than me. I'm gutted by it. However, he said that he has a responsibility of the team to act in its best interests, as Jeff just noted a short while ago. Eric was asked whether the Max Crosby fallout would affect his business around the league. His quote, "It hasn't stopped my phone from ringing." Oscar, where are you at? Other takeaways, he plans to bring in a couple of offensive linemen over the next couple of weeks. And let's see if the Ravens have added this feed to their official app. Hopefully what will happen after all of this is that a link is posted as a specific video to their YouTube account, but still nothing on the app, nothing on YouTube, and NFL Network just cut away from it. And so that is what we're essentially operating under right now. I want to go ahead and end the poll. We almost hit 1,000 votes, but because a couple of these players are no longer in on being available, I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And Bradley Chubb at 37% comes in as the leading vote getter in terms of who the Ravens should target next. The only problem is when I put out that poll, he was still available. He no longer is. He's going to Buffalo. And you can take Javon Hargrave off that list as well. He's going to Green Bay. Okay, elsewhere, after losing Tyler Linderbaum, they were interested in pairing Hendrickson and Crosby together. I mentioned that. That is DeCosta's confirmation, which matches up with reporting on the national level that we've heard. Crosby's medical exam put an end to that discussion, obviously, as we already know. As for, and I just want to reiterate this once more, as for whether or not he's fractured relationships around the league, he was asked specifically about whether or not this Max Crosby fallout might prohibit them from doing future business around the league. Quote, "It hasn't stopped my phone from ringing." DeCosta also says, according to Jeff, "I don't know what we could do differently. It was a really tough call." I believe him when he says he's gutted and when he has deep regret, because his body language says it all. It sounds to me like this was an organizational decision, not just one person's decision, with many, many voices and influences involved and ultimately getting this thing across the finish line. He said the team has good relationships with both agents and general managers. And again, if you're just tuning in, Eric DeCosta is currently meeting with reporters in a non-streamed podium setting, meaning he's at the microphone in Baltimore at one winning drive, but it isn't being streamed. And so we're relying on audio from NFL Network and elsewhere. And that reminds me, some of you told me that WBAL radio has it, but I probably can't even access that knowing that I'm out of market. DeCosta also said there were moments yesterday that he was left speechless. Can any of you relate? And as more updates come in, I'll continue to make sure that we're up to date and that you guys are fully caught up. There will be no extension done between the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. At the moment, there isn't anything done, but there was a restructure. And Eric DeCosta says it did indeed create close to $40 million in cap space. And they added a void year onto 2030. He acknowledged the video of Nnamdi Madubuike from last week working out, but wouldn't go as far as to share any news about his status moving forward. I continue to stand by my reporting from Indianapolis that suggests that retirement is not in the cards and that he will be back for the Ravens in uniform coming up in 2026. He said he expects to address the center position in both free agency and perhaps the draft. He has total faith in Dwayne Ledford, who's the new offensive line coach and run game coordinator, and what his role is moving forward, upgrading what the Ravens are doing up front. Eric says this has affected a lot of people. It saddens me that the deal didn't go through. That just a moment ago. And again, he uses words like gutted and regret to help express himself for just how upset he is that this deal folded. As far as cold feet speculation, buyer's remorse, if you will. He says he understands the skepticism, but that his job is to do what's best for the Ravens. And again, maybe most importantly, moving forward from a team building perspective, when he was asked specifically about whether or not this fallout is expected to create business issues, he straight up said, "It hasn't stopped my phone from ringing." He also confirmed that both Hendrickson and Crosby were in the cards, but obviously that fell through when the physical was not passed. Eric talked about on if they were competitive when it came to Tyler Linderbaum until the market was shattered by Vegas. He smiled and used an analogy of getting outbid on a house early in his career when he didn't have a lot of money. Nobody was paying Linderbaum what Vegas was willing to do. Nobody. DeCosta was asked if he's still open to making a big trade that involves premium draft picks. He said right now they're back to focusing on the draft, but if a player is available that's worth the premium pick, they would explore it. I desperately want to find video version of what we just listened to so that I can cut it up and display it on the screen. But there's only so much multitasking that I can do. If you guys have the link, hit me with it, tag me with it, and start scouring the internet if you have a couple minutes, whatever you're doing right now. 90 seconds on the clock. Your thoughts on part of what we just listened to. And Eric DeCosta addressing local reporters in Baltimore after everything that's transpired in the last 24 hours or so. Caven, pop on, brother. 90 seconds on the clock. The floor is yours. Good to see you, man. Welcome to the program.
How you doing, bro?
I'm hanging on, man. This is crazy.
Shout out to you and Sarah. First time I ever got a chance to talk to you. Let me go quick. Well, first of all, I'm a Madden player, right? Okay. I realized at the beginning of the year, even on a video game, It was very tough. They had like 23 possible free agents. You know, it's only a 53-man roster. I would have to manipulate and cheat a video game just to reconstruct contracts so that I could re-sign people, so et cetera, et cetera. So when I stand here today and I look at what he was actually able to do, okay, this is not a video game. Maybe he did very well manipulate the system to get what we needed done, but he did it. Now we sit here with 70 million. We've had a couple of areas addressed. I knew the players likely. I knew they were going, especially when they signed Andrews, right? I knew they were going. Now the way Eric handled the press conference, I thought he was transparent. And I thought basically it's like, sorry, but not sorry. This is a business. He's in the business of taking care of our team, our Ravens. We got our edge rusher. We got our third safety. And we are in position to draft and carry on, get back to a defensive presence with the hire of the coach. EDC cooked, in my opinion. Thank you, Bobby.
Thanks, Caven. Appreciate you, man. And look, they're just getting going too, right? This is a process. I know that's cliche to say, but they're just getting going. They've got a hefty amount of capital in the form of newfound cap space after the contract restructure. You've got 11 total picks. You're back in the first round. You've got Trey Hendrickson, who's still playing at a very high level. I believe that Nnamdi Madubuike will be back. I've got folks talking about Keaton Mitchell in the live chat, prompting me to believe that something's happened. I'm not seeing anything, so let me know if that's the case. Caven, great call. 90 seconds on the clock. And we're still waiting video so that I can actually play what it is that we just heard from Eric DeCosta in Baltimore. Johnny, talk to me. 90 seconds on the clock, brother. Floor is yours, man.
Bobby, what's up, man?
Good to see you, dude.
Good to see you, brother. How you doing? So, one, I want to say thank you and Sarah because y'all been on my screen for at least, I think I want to say 24 hours straight. That's me doing work. But you still there, Bob?
I'm giving you all I can give you, brother. I'm going full gas, no brakes. And this is what you live for in a sense. I know it's been a little bit of a roller coaster if you're a fan, but I'm all in, man. I'm all the fuck in. So thank you for the support.
Yes, man. So here's my thoughts. There's a lot of, I'm everywhere with it. But one, I was going to say yesterday when I called in, I didn't like the Max Crosby trade. I just, I think we needed our picks. So I'm kind of happy whatever happened. And with that being said, like the NFL or whoever the teams mad at us for doing whatever we did. Ain't nobody say nothing about us getting a draft pick or whatever when they messed them calls up in Pittsburgh, So I don't want to hear about what happened with Max Crosby leg or whatever. And two, I think we should get that kid from Florida, man, that D tackle, that big 6'6" kid from Florida, where he could put in the middle. And I think we should go get that kid from wide receiver from Alabama. And I think that would be a good set of things for the Ravens, man.
Thanks, Johnny.
Hey, I appreciate you, brother. Take care, man.
Thank you, man. There are those picks that you wanted right there, Johnny. They're on the screen, all 11 of them, including that 14th overall selection, which means we will officially have coverage for you guys on opening night of the draft, the final Thursday of April. DeCosta, courtesy of NFL Network.
What do you kind of say to that speculation?
I mean, I understand it. I understand it. We live in that age of skepticism and people question, especially people that don't really know me or know the Ravens culture and the Ravens organization. So I understand it. As I said at the beginning, we've got a responsibility. I've got a responsibility to the Ravens, to this community, to our fans, and to Steve Bisciotti to do what we think is best for the club. And that's what we always try to do. Every decision we make is based on this idea, is this the best thing for the Ravens? It's very, very challenging. Again, I understand how people might, maybe from afar, would feel that way. But nobody's more upset about this than me. Gutted by it, actually. And so a big regret for me. But we will move on as a football team, and I think there's many, many opportunities for us to grow as a team, to become a better team, to build a roster, and to be the team that we want to be.
Pretty emotional there from Eric DeCosta, courtesy of NFL Network. Looks like WBAL TV, as you see there on that chyron in the upper left-hand corner, is the one who picked that up. And that's some raw reaction, emotional reaction from DeCosta, who spoke with reporters in a podium or at least a microphone type setting just within the last hour at One Winning Drive. As more clips come in, I'll share them as I multitask with you guys here tonight. Over 2,700 concurrents and counting. And my, oh my, this is high stakes stuff that has the entire sports world on notice. And speaking of the sports world, it is the best month of the year if you are a college basketball fan. March Madness has arrived. Selection Sunday right around the corner. And I want to say thanks to FanDuel for the continued support of the program. They've got a featured 4-leg parlay for you, and a popular one at that. The same game parlay. Xavier at Marquette. BYU, Sarah's alma mater, at West Virginia. Georgetown, my father's alma mater, at DePaul. And Wake Forest at Clemson. A bunch of money lines to consider. Check it out. Gamble responsibly. NBA is in action tonight. Cleveland at Orlando. Raptors at Pelicans. Knicks at Jazz. So on and so forth. How about Bam last night, an 83-piece? Insane. Go check it out at sportsbook.fanduel.com. And if or when you do, please gamble responsibly and call 1-800-GAMBLER if you are in need of assistance. Like the video if you could on the way in. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Consider becoming a channel member or a gift-giving membership this offseason. And guess what? You already know we're going live on The Collective tonight. 90 seconds on the clock. Mr. Ravens football, the floor is yours. Good to have you on again, brother. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, I was all Max Crosby yesterday, and, things happen. But I'm going to tell you something right now. Eric DeCosta is a freaking magician. Because who in their right mind can go from a Max Crosby and all of a sudden, wow, we got oh my God, I can't even say his name right now. Trey
Hendrickson,
yeah. How do you do that? That's quick work right there. And on top of it, he wanted to put both of them on the field together. Holy shit. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. That guy is, and that GM that thinks, oh, well, no one's going to want to do business with the Ravens. That GM, he can't even put his goddamn name on it because he's such a pussy. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm from Rhode Island. I got a trash mouth. I'm doing my best not to swear up a storm because Eric DeCosta is a friggin' genius. And people need to understand he doesn't like to show his hands. He doesn't like to show his cards. But honestly, this is the best pick. Well, not pick, but what he could have done. Because not only do we get a top-notch defensive lineman guy, we also got our first 2-round picks back for the same price. He's a tear down maybe from Crosby, but now we get 2 more hits in the draft. So screw you, NFL, if you think he's a horrible, and you can screw yourself if you don't like him. Sucker.
Appreciate it, man. I've never seen that energy from you. What is it, game day in this bitch? Holy hell. How about it? Mr. Northeast himself. Goodness gracious. That's some game day energy right there. That's some Celsius energy right there, Dre Dog. Appreciate you guys for being with me today. The Collective will go live in just a bit. The Vault was live earlier, of course, and we are now in hour 2 here. If you could like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Eric DeCosta just wrapped up his press conference, an impromptu one at that. Reporters were given about 90 minutes notice. Excuse me. 90 minutes notice. And one thing that he mentioned is that they ran out of time with Lamar to get an extension done. But the reworked contract, the restructure took place. It opened up $40 million. And now Lamar and the team still has a chance at some point this offseason to get something done in the form of an extension. Eric DeCosta also confirmed that there was conversations on pairing both Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson together, but obviously the medical setback for Crosby did not allow for that to cross the finish line. He mentioned that Nnamdi Madubuike. Well, what was the specific mentioning about Nnamdi Madubuike? It's funny, I don't have the clips in front of me, but Nnamdi, of course, was seen working out on social media. He reposted it to his Instagram last week, and he was working with a medicine ball over his head, over his neck, which was encouraging from a rehab standpoint. And he said that story is yet to be written. It's a story that hasn't been written yet, so we'll see what happens. "90 seconds on the clock. Dre Dog, let's get it. Floor is yours, brother. Great to have you back on the program. Let's
Yo,
chat.
can you hear me okay?
All you.
No. Okay. I'm going through my parking garage, so I don't know if it's going to cut out for a second, but it'll come right back. So
As soon as you get through that parking garage, you let us know. As soon as you get through that parking garage, you let us know. There's plenty to discuss in the meantime. We got to come up with a new poll. And I'm continuing to refresh YouTube to see if an Eric DeCosta video is dropped, because there was definitely parts of what we just listened to, and here it is. I've got it. WBAL just dropped it, and I'm going to go ahead and do a real-time download right now to ensure that you guys get what you need and we can listen to this press conference in full. So just stand by. Appreciate your patience. And again, this is courtesy of WBAL TV, my former employer in Baltimore. It's the local NBC affiliate. Gave me my chance to truly start my broadcasting career back in 2019. And this comes courtesy of their YouTube department. And this is Eric DeCosta within the last hour or so, essentially an emergency press conference to talk about what's taken place in recent hours.
Coming out on short notice. I know you have a lot of questions about free agency and what's transpired over the last 4 days. I'm going to do my best to be as transparent as possible. There will be some things that I probably can't talk about for different reasons regarding the process, and I hope you understand that. So, questions?
Eric, what can you tell us about why the Max Crosby trade did not go through?
So the first thing I would say, Jameson, is we were down in Florida last week. Had a chance to meet with Steve for about 36 hours maybe, and spent a lot of time talking about different ways to improve our team. Free agency, re-signing guys, trades, all kinds of the draft, all kinds of stuff. We were really excited about adding Max, potentially adding Max to our team. I had already begun discussions, John Spytek. Those discussions continued. We were really thinking that we were gaining some traction. We did. I would say as part of the normal sort of trade process, I mean, there's a lot of different parts involved with the trade process. We've done a lot of different trades, and one of the key things is to, you bring the player in, you try to get as much information as you can. We did that, and we were not able to complete the process of acquiring the player based on, our assessment of the situation. Very, very, I think, disappointing. I know our fans were upset, devastated. I understand that. Tough situation. But I think for the Ravens, the right situation. And my role as GM and Jesse's role as head coach and Sashi's role as president, stewards of the organization. And we have to make tough calls, and this was certainly a tough call to make.
Eric, how much of sort of making that tough call was aided by the fact that you knew Trey?
So they clearly were having a feed issue, and this is what I just dropped in. I'm watching this in real time with you guys. So it looks like
it really wasn't. So I think the two are kind of mutually exclusive. We were very focused on Max, a lot of attention given to that particular acquisition. As I said, a player that I think really fits us and his skill set. We've played against him. Really admire him in many different ways. I think for us, it was going to be probably our biggest foundational acquisition this year. So I didn't really look at him as like, we'll do this because of that. It was really more, how do we get better as a football team? In terms of Trey, I think we came to a point probably after we lost Tyler, where as we're trying to find the best way for us to get better as a football team, Trey kind of made a lot of sense as a possible guy to look at. So we started some discussions with he and his agent, thinking that, potentially we'd have two pass rushers on the defensive line on both sides of the line. Again, I think it was disappointing, to us, and probably in a way, potentially disappointing probably to Trey as well.
Eric, you said you were interested in having two pass rushers on that side of the line. Are you referring to both Max and Trey Hendrickson?
Yeah, so we had started discussions with both players. We'd already agreed to potentially the trade with the Raiders, but we had, we were trying to sign Tyler, obviously. We weren't able to get that done. Looking at the best ways for us to improve our football team, at some point we just said, you know what, this might be a guy that really fits us, and we've played against him twice a year for the last whatever many years, 4 or 5 years, and thought, hey, maybe this is a way for us to get better as a football team. So that was definitely a possibility for us. Not to say that it would have happened, but definitely something that we had contemplated and discussed with Trey.
What's that conversation like with the Raiders in the span of just over 72 hours after agreeing to certain terms? Obviously, you guys had never addressed that, officially, and then having a conversation with them saying that you were not going to.
So it wasn't just one conversation. It was conversations that took place probably over a full day span. I should say that I've got a lot of respect for Mark Davis, the Raiders, John Spytek. Al Davis was born in Brockton, Mass. I've always admired that. I'm from Massachusetts, right down the street. So I love the Raiders. They've been one of my favorite teams. And it's tough. It's challenging. It was devastating for me to have that conversation. I'm sure challenging for them to hear as well. It's also very, 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 very hard for the player to have that, to hear that as well. And it's probably hardest for him more than anybody else.
Eric, some people will maybe speculate and question and say, you guys maybe got cold feet, whether it's self-inflicted, like medically or whatever the reason. What do you kind of say to that sort of speculation?
I mean, I understand it. I understand it. We live in that age of skepticism, and people question, especially people that don't really know me or know the Ravens culture and the Ravens organization. So I understand it. As I said at the beginning, we've got a responsibility. I've got a responsibility to the Ravens, to this community, to our fans, and to Steve Bisciotti to do what we think is best for the club. And that's what we always try to do. Every decision we make is based on this idea, is this the best thing for the Ravens? Very, very challenging. Again, I understand how people might, maybe from afar, would feel that way, but nobody's more upset about this than me. Gutted by it, actually, and so a big regret for me. But we will move on as a football team, and I think there's many, many opportunities for us to grow as a team, to become a better team, to build a roster, and to be the team that we want to be.
Are you able to restructure Lamar's to create some cap space for this? I know you don't want to discuss the particulars, but do you feel you're closer now to an extension, or is that just, all right, we'll kick that down the road again later?
Yeah, so, we kind of ran out of time, and we're able to free up, I think, just under $40 million this year Added a void year to 2030, I believe. Certainly hopeful that we'll get an extension done. I think it's important to both parties, but we remain to see what's going to take place in the future.
Does it make it more difficult now that you took this step of a restructure, or no, it doesn't really change the dynamic?
I don't think it really changes the dynamic very much.
Eric, we saw working out. Just curious, one, I know you're probably tired of us asking about it, but any update there, and how much does that play into the calculus of the Max and the Trey stuff?
Yeah, I saw the video. It was cool to see. Didn't really play into the calculus at all. I think that's a book that hasn't been written yet, so we'll see what happens with that.
You talked about losing Tyler Linderbaum to the Raiders. What does that look like now going forward? Maybe the rest of the agency, obviously targeting that sort of position in the draft, looking at a rookie again like you did with Tyler, or maybe playing for you?
Well, I'm super excited. I know you guys haven't had a chance to meet with Dwayne Ledford yet, our offensive line coach. Super, super excited to work with him. I would say if you do interview him, just don't wear a lot of pads, extra padding anywhere, because he's not going to like that, because he doesn't like a lot of back pads or like elbow pads and things like that. So, but he's a great coach, and he's super excited. I think he's done a masterful job. If you look at some of the guys he's had in Atlanta, how he's developed players, I think it's one of the things that I probably admire most about his coaching style is his ability to take these younger guys and make them really, really good. So I think we've got a good plan. We've got a bunch of draft picks this year, 11 draft picks this year. I think we're going to probably have a whole bunch of draft picks next year. We will be looking at some free agents as well. We'll probably bring a couple guys in the next couple weeks. But I have a lot of confidence in Coach Ledford and our offensive staff to develop guys. And I'm confident we've done it before. I think we have a pretty good history of drafting centers. I could go back and probably give you 4 or 5 guys that we've drafted over the years that have ended up being some of the very best centers in the league. So I'm confident we can do that.
Eric, obviously with the trade not happening, you get your first round picks back. Is the plan to kind of still prepare for the draft as if you have those picks, or are you kind of open to still making other deals?
Well, right now we have those picks, right? So, I had kind of taken a Sharpie and X'd out about 25 players on my list that we weren't going to have a chance to select, and I have to make a new list and have those players back on the list. But we'll be ready for anything. Obviously, if there's a player that we think we can acquire that's worth a first-round pick, then we'll do it. But I think the reality is there's many, many different ways for us to get better as a football team, whether it's free agency, the draft, undrafted free agency, trades. There's a lot of things we can do. I think we're headed in the right direction. I think we probably maybe signed today alone maybe 4 or 5 guys. And it's fun. I think our scouts and coaches have done a great job adding players. And it's going to be a whole bunch of different guys. You'll have some expensive guys. You'll have some cheap guys, right? But they all end up working together as a team. And some of our best signings, I think, every single year are the guys that you get for the minimum salary, right? Last year we were able to get Cheeto Awuzie really cheap. We just signed him back again today. Excited about that. Did a hell of a job for us last year. Fired up to get him back. And so I think the hunt goes on, and we are super excited about this team, where we're headed. A lot of opportunities today, tomorrow, this coming weekend. Promise not to do too many signings this weekend so you guys don't have to write too many articles. I'm probably not going to be here this weekend, so there's a good chance we won't be signing anybody. But don't quote me on that.
Eric, I know you tried things in-house with Lamar, but can you at least indicate whether there was, before the restructuring, was there any progress made at the time before that?
I mean, Jameson, I've said this a million times. Lamar and I are not going to talk about like the negotiation aspect of our relationship. So I'm going to stand by that.
Has it been weird? Going back to the way things kind of unfolded, it looks like you're getting an accident, then it doesn't happen, and so forth, and again, the speculation. Do you have any concern, or how do you view that any concern maybe impacting the business with other teams, other players, other...
Unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about the muffled questions. I can't do anything about the audio.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't stopped my phone from ringing. I'll tell you that. I think our relationship with agents and with other teams is really, really good. I understand the question. I think that GMs understand the importance of getting as much information as possible before making decisions. And I would say that most agents would say that myself, George, Nick, Mark Acevedo, Ozzy, Sashi, everybody that works with agents would say that we're a class organization that does business the right way, respectful, and willing to get deals done.
Derek, I know you guys have to make some tough conversations with players over the years. What was it like with Max when you had to inform him that you guys were going to have to move on?
Yeah, you know, like you said, in this business you have a lot of tough conversations, right? It was tough. It's a guy that I really admire as a player. I mean, you've all watched him play, so you all know what he's like as a player, right? This is a guy that plays like a Raven, you know? So, yeah, it's challenging. You get emotionally attached. That's what I would say.
Eric, you say you were gutted by this. Is there anything you regret that you did or did not do as part of this process that could have changed the results, the end results here?
You know, I think I'm hard on myself, and you question everything you do. You know, in this business, you're never perfect, right, with the draft and with free agency. I think in this particular instance, I'm really proud of the team and the doctors and, you know, the guys that work with me. And this is a tough thing that we have to deal with in this business. I don't really know what we could do differently than what we did. So, again, it's a really, really, really tough call. You know, there were moments yesterday when, honestly, I was probably speechless. Just sitting in my chair in my office and just thinking about what the next step would be and trying to get as much information as possible. And it wasn't, you know, I should say it wasn't just, you know, in a situation like this, you try to get as much information as you can from as many different sources as you can. And it just didn't work out. So, yeah, tough, very, very challenging. We've dealt with these kinds of things in the past, but probably never at such a large figure. So, challenging.
Did you try to renegotiate at all the terms of it?
You know, I think at some point you get to the point where, you know, when you look at the situation, you have to make the right decision. You know, it's not always about, you know, the value. It's just what is the right decision for the club at the time. And that's a hard thing to do. But as I said, when you're a steward of the organization and you're put in that position, you've got to make the tough call.
Eric, sorry for your ask this right at the top. Do you think if you had gotten the fuller picture by, like, let's say Sunday, as opposed to when you got it, and like, would that have materially changed the kind of results here in these first days of agency?
You know, we try to value every single player, you know, and I think, I mean, I understand the question, Jonas. I think it's just like you spend a lot of time saying, this is what this player is, this is who he is, this is how he plays, this is what he's worth. And we try not to deviate from that. And so I think that would it have allowed us to spend more money on players? Maybe, but would we have done it? Probably not. You know, you have a threshold that you get to, that you want to get to, and typically we try to be fairly responsible when it comes to that, and we have to make tough calls. And so I can't say that it would have changed that much. I understand these things do kind of, you know, have repercussions, and I get that. It's challenging, you know, for these other teams maybe. There are other teams affected by this as well. For us specifically, this was something that we felt would give us the chance to build a team the way we wanted to build a team. It just didn't work out for us.
Here we go, two more. Going back to Linderbaum for a minute. Do you feel like you guys were competitive in that situation right up until the end, or did you sort of feel the market maybe get away from you a little bit at some point, or what was your sense of that?
You know, I'll just quickly put it in perspective. So when I was a young man and I was living down in Fed Hill, and I was going to buy a home on Hamburg Street. So I had all the money I had, which wasn't a lot of money. I was a young scout, and I put an offer on the house. It was everything I had. The guy called me back and said, hey, we got a cash offer, so you got to give us a little bit of more money. So I did. And then I'm like, man, I have nothing left. Then he came back again. He said, I need your final offer, your best offer. And I said, I already gave it to you, right? And it just was like I wasn't ever going to get that house because the other people had more money to spend on the house. That's kind of how I felt. Does that make sense?
That was Linderbaum related.
You know what? I tell you, as I said, I got a lot of respect. I have so much respect for the Raiders organization, John Spytek. You know, I've known John a long time and admired the way his career has gone. The Davis family. I just have always loved the Raiders and Max's agents, Doug Hendrickson, Cliff LeBoy, CJ. They're two of the best guys out there. Those guys. And this has affected a lot of people, and it saddens me that the deal didn't go through. It's just, unfortunately, one of the aspects of this business that is challenging. It's not. There's different ways that things can fall through, and I feel equally sad that we lost Tyler. I feel equally sad that Isaiah's not playing here anymore, right? I hate to see Jordan Stout go play for somebody else. And those are all tough things. I mean, we all kind of say, "Oh, he got paid. He got this. He got that." I love those guys. I love those guys. I love our team. I love our players. I'm proud of them. I'm proud of the fact that, everybody spends money on our players, but it's tough. So you kind of lose on both ends, right? Maybe you lose out on a Max Crosby, and that's gut-wrenching, but it's hard to lose a guy like Tyler or Isaiah and, a bunch of other guys that you get attached to and you watch them grow and become some of the better players in the league, and I'm proud of that. And, I'll tell those guys they'll always be Ravens in my eyes. They'll always be a part of the culture and the fabric of this place. But when they leave, it's tough. So that's what I would say on that. Thanks, guys.
Fascinating there. That's courtesy of WBAL TV 11, the local NBC affiliate in Baltimore, my former employer on the radio side of things. And I wanted to let that entire thing ride. It was over 18 minutes, as you probably gathered throughout it. And while I think we've already gone through the majority of the takeaways, it's another thing to hear and see that body language, hear just how gutted and look to see how gutted he is. And I think he's being real and genuine about that. So that's the 18 minutes. I'll have cut-ups later. I'm sure Sarah and I will discuss it at length coming up tomorrow as well. And we're 2 hours out from the collective on top of that in what will be another back-to-back 4-stream day. Who's doing it like this, baby? Dre Dog, 90 seconds on the clock. Appreciate you for being with me. Floor is yours, brother.
What's up, man? Can you hear me all right?
All you.
All right, man. So first and foremost, as always, I want to give you a congratulations on your hard work, man, and your dedication. I'm glad to see that all your hard work and everything is paying off. I know you're tired as hell. I know your diet is messed up right now. You're not sleeping. You're not eating right. So I know that sacrifice is not something easy to do. So I appreciate you, hanging in there. But I'm still mad at you because you ain't got no appointment with your PCP yet. I need you to do that. Full physical. You need a full panel. When you go to the doctor, when you get a PCP, not no virtual doctor.
All right.
Because you're going shortcut. PCP, full panel physical for Bobby Trosset. That's what you need. As far as what EDC just said, man, I think it was genuine. I don't think from the instant that I heard the situation with Max Crosby, why would a person make such a strong level of sacrifice just to turn around and say, no, I'm not doing that? You know what I mean? You basically playing your cards face up. Eric DeCosta is not one to reveal his cards and then take them back. Like he's never been that type of guy. So I think, I think Eric was genuine, and now it's literally next man up. We got Trey Hendrickson in the building. I say we still need another solid defensive end, outside linebacker guy. I don't want Kyle Van Noy. That ship has sailed. I would kick the tires on a Jadeveon Clowney. I feel like if Clowney's not the primary guy, as we saw when he was with us, 9.5 sacks. We could use that. I think a guy that we might be sleeping on just a smidge that's going to have some opportunities is Adisa Isaac. Remember, he had some healthy scratches there. And coming out, man, I mean, Adisa was a solid draft pick. So Tavius, Adisa, Travis Jones, hopefully Matabike, Trey Hendrickson, who I'm missing? Oh, of course, Mike Green. I think our front seven can be very, very strong. I like what we did. I know that's the safety that we signed. I know he's not the best against the run, but we got Kyle Hamilton for that, so we'll be okay in that regard.
Appreciate
but yeah,
you, brother.
man. I think I just want to say, everybody, don't panic, man. Don't panic. It's just getting started, and sometimes greatness takes some time to get moving. Y'all be
Thanks,
safe.
Trey.
Have a great week.
See you, man. Appreciate it. And the safety, of course, that he's referring to there is the New England Patriot who just played in the Super Bowl, spent the last couple of years in New England, and that is Jalen Hawkins. 2 years, $10 million. Fowler and Zrebeck both on that, and he will be occupying the safety number 3 role. Tony Love hits us with a super chat. He says the Ravens are the most exciting team in sports, Super Bowl or not. We're playing chess, not checkers, and this was a pawn promotion move. That from Tony, who likes the way that Eric DeCosta and company are taking care of business. The Ravens officially did not use the RFA tender on Keaton Mitchell by the deadline at 4. He is now officially a free agent and can be signed and sought after. So Keaton Mitchell, again, no RFA tender used on him. The former undrafted rookie running back is now available to be sought after by a team that would require and use his services. We'll wait and see what happens there. JW, guest lines are open. 90 seconds on the clock. Floor is yours, man. Good to see you again. What's up?
How does Jeff Zrebeck do what he does? How's he able to do that? I sat down at my computer this afternoon, and I'm asked to write a knee-jerk reaction. The Ravens seem to find ways to create stories that you don't expect to happen, right? So what I'm gathering is they were going to pair Trey Hendrickson with Max Crosby, correct?
That was what DeCosta didn't necessarily deny today, yeah.
So the Linderbaum money was going to go to Trey Hendrickson. That's what happened there, which means the Max Crosby money, is that still on the table? Or is some of that used to sign Hawkins and Smythe today? But if that money is still there, check out Jonathan Greenard. See if you can trade for Jalen Carter. Do something with that. That's what I would like them to see and make that statement.
Thanks, man.
I believe what he had to say, but the optics are bad no matter what he has to say.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the call. And that gave me a chance to go look at Keaton Mitchell's Instagram story. And because he is not a part of the Ravens anymore as of 2 hours ago, with the new league year beginning, here it is. His Instagram story. Be more with the peace sign. Forever love for the city, and a bunch of highlights of Keaton in his best form. And we saw that throughout his time in Baltimore at times. So perhaps this is what you guys were referring to earlier on when the live chat was discussing this. And perhaps Keaton Mitchell's time in Baltimore is over, and all but over, depending on what it is that he means by this Instagram story. But I'm pretty sure I think we all know. And what I'll go and do is screen share this so that you guys can see what it is that I'm seeing, because I just took a screenshot of it. Here's the actual screen share. And it looks like Keaton Mitchell is on his way out of Baltimore as a former undrafted rookie out of East Carolina. See what team takes a chance on him. A lot of speedster, a lot of explosiveness and misdirection. Struggles, obviously, in the pass protection department when it comes to picking up the blitz. We've seen that. And ultimately, the Ravens appear to be going in a direction with Justice Hill as a player from their 2019 draft class who's earned multiple extensions and is a more well-rounded player, if you will. Does he have the explosiveness to Keaton's level in terms of speed? No. But I'm not going to sit here and knock the value that Justice Hill brings to a team. He is a glue guy. and he runs it well, and he catches it well, and he's a teamer, meaning a special teamer. He does all three of those things well, and he's really developed himself into a high-level blitz pick-upper. So maybe that's what you guys were referring to. And that's that from Keaton Mitchell, who, again, the Ravens officially, now that the new league year has came and went by 2 hours, the Ravens officially did not use a RFA tender on Keaton by the 4 o'clock deadline, and he is now a free agent. In 2 hours from right now, we will hop on the collective, Jeff Zaribek, Cole Jackson, and myself, and it should be a very, very interesting evening, being that Jeff was one of the many beat reporters on the scene within the last hour or so when Eric DeCosta addressed the media. I hope you'll join us at 8 o'clock. And if you're in the market for a new or pre-owned vehicle in 2026, I hope you'll consider scanning the QR code or visiting PrestonMotor.com, which you can find the link to do so in the show notes, because they are my longest standing sponsor. And there's a couple available offers to you if you are a subscriber. One of those is a $500 credit that can be used towards a new or pre-owned vehicle. The second of those is when you buy 4 tires, you'll receive 50% off your alignment. Both can be validated. Both can be taken advantage of if you let them know at any Preston area dealership, all throughout the DMV, all throughout Baltimore, all throughout the Eastern Shore. If you let them know that you're a Bobby Baltimore subscriber, you'll be eligible for either one of those offers, if not both. You can contact them by filling out this form that you see on the screen right here. All my social links and platforms are here. And right now they have 3,864 current available inventory in the form of vehicles. And based on your preference and needs, you can break things down by make, model, specific keywords, price, vehicle condition. All the locations are here right now as well, including Randallstown, Maryland, off of Liberty Road. Preston Ford West is who I use. That's my home dealership when I'm back in the Baltimore area. Scan the QR code to learn more. Thanks to Preston for the continued support of this program. Call 410-673-7171 if you want to go check out what they have going on over there. Well, we've covered a lot of ground over the last 2 hours, certainly, including the full watch of Eric DeCosta's press conference, which was an impromptu one on all things free agency, including the Max Crosby part of the discussion. Guys, if you haven't already done so, I would love for you to join the Bobby Baltimore Discord server, which is a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. We have 1,268 members currently, with Tony becoming the latest. Tony, glad you could join, my man. This is a chat room essentially for like-minded Baltimore sports fans, Ravens fans, sports fans in general. It's a great way to interact with me more informally, 24/7. I go in and out of checking it, to be honest with you, but I try to be as consistent as I possibly can. And the link to join is dropped into the live chat right now, and it's also a pinned comment in the live chat. When you do join, like Tony did, and McBride, and Switch, and Coach, you get a shout out like our newest member, Stitch. Welcome to Stitch Wave. So check it out. Who was our newest one that just came in literally a second ago? Average Dame, welcome. Welcome to the community. Here's where we talk Ravens football all day long. And everybody in real time chatting through what's been a very, very momentous day right up to the minute. With a new member, what's up, Say So? Looking fly in that pic, Say So. Look at you, clean. Look at that edge. Would love for you guys to join. And appreciate you in advance for helping grow that community. Fumble Flock, if he doesn't watch his ass, is going to get banned by when I get a second. So I was getting yelled at earlier. When I get a second, his ass is getting banned after I have a chance to review it. You better watch his neck. Ain't that right, Fumble? Guys, if you want to donate to the program, you can always do so through Venmo or Cash App. Some of you reach out to me off the air and ask, hey, what doesn't take a percentage, meaning YouTube does take a percentage when you leave that super chat. So some of you are like, can you send something else over so we don't have to have that cut going to YouTube, which I appreciate. And if that's the case, you could do so through Venmo or Cash App. Anything and everything is appreciated. Nothing is ever expected. And more than anything else, what's really important and free is things like liking the daily video, subscribing if you haven't already. That really helps make this channel grow. Hitting that notification bell so you're pinged when we go live. And the current subscriber count for me right now is at 26,461. That's where things stand at the moment. So for Preston Automotive Group, for FanDuel, for all of you, including my Super Chat donors, my guest callers, and everybody who popped in throughout the last 2 hours on live chat, I appreciate you. And we will be back inside the collective at 8 o'clock Eastern to go over the day that was in and around Baltimore and in and around the NFL. If you haven't already done so, connect with me on Instagram at Bobby Baltimore. The O in Baltimore is a 0. Same thing on X or Twitter. I'll be posting there all night long, including editing some of the press conference that we just listened to, the notable clips, putting that up on my account coming up right after this. You can click join to become a channel member, not a Vault channel member, not at least in this channel, but you can become a Bobby Baltimorean by pressing the join toggle button. And as always, I appreciate you guys for spending some time with me. Jeff, Cole, and I will catch you tonight as the marathon that is this week's news cycle rolls on. Appreciate you guys.